Now, this guy just has nothing good going for him. His name was John Eric Armstrong. And now I've said before, the reason why they list serial killers and mass murderers and stuff like that, mass shooters, as 3 names generally, is so people who have the name John Armstrong don't get brought into that group. They specify the middle name so it differentiates them from every other person with just that first and last name. This guy, though, this guy has a totally different reason why his middle name is used, and I'm taking great pride by calling him John Armstrong. So, John Armstrong. This happened in Seattle, so fairly nearby to us, and this is back in the 90s. And what happened was the police in or near Seattle started finding dead prostitutes. And they were all strangled or all had like crushed windpipes, and the police were like, okay, we have a serial killer. And so they kind of start hanging around the area. They're starting to do their investigations and stuff like that, and they just through good police work, they zero in on this guy, John Eric Armstrong, and they bring him, and he just starts babbling like a baby. It was babbling. He just starts crying like a baby, and he's like, "Oh, I killed those 5 women, and I killed 11 more around the world." He used to be in the Navy, and he said that when his naval ship, the Nimitz, would dock at a port of call, he would get out and murder a prostitute, as you do, and then get back on the ship and go somewhere else. And so that's that. He was arrested. He was convicted in August of 2001. The only interesting thing about this conspiracy case so far was that the fact that he was in the Navy and he was killing prostitutes around the world. However, I was kind of reading the article, and I was like, I don't know if this will make it onto the show, but then I came across these nuggets. These are great. Whoever wrote this article really didn't like this guy. I'm not saying that I'm a huge fan of him either, because I'm not. But I'm reading this article, and okay, so his motivation, this is what he said his motivation was that his dad used to abuse him, which isn't funny. That's horrible. Okay? And then the reason why he started to hate women was he had this high school girlfriend he was totally in love with, but then a hotter guy gave her some gifts, and she dumped him. And so he viewed that as prostitution. So he just had this ingrained thing against prostitution. And then you're like, Jason, it's still not funny. This guy was emotionally abused, physically abused by his dad. He's killing prostitutes. Why are you laughing so much? Okay. So this is where it gets funny. It might just be me, but this is where it gets funny. Okay. So he hates his dad so much. His dad's name is John Armstrong. And so he hates his dad so much, he's like, I'm not going to use my father's name. I will no longer be known as John Armstrong. I will be known as Eric Armstrong. Okay, so fine, fair enough. I've known people to change their names. It's not a big deal. However, this guy was so adamant at people calling him Eric Armstrong. When he got arrested, he was wearing a shirt that just said Eric on it. Like, I mean, almost like a Sesame Street character. Like, I can imagine if you knew him for years and years and years, and you saw him after a period of time, after he changed his name, and you didn't know about it, and you're like, hey, John, and he just looks at you, he glares at you, and just taps his shirt. Who wears a shirt with their own name on it? And, better yet, who wears a shirt with not their name on it? Okay, so, then you're like, Jason, this guy's mentally disturbed. Why are you making fun of him? Well, trust me, I think it gets funnier. Maybe you don't. Okay, so now, okay. But then, it gets even weirder than we're at right now. So, John Eric, the killer, tells police, and I can almost picture this. It sounds totally horrifying. As he was with the prostitutes, as John Eric was with the prostitutes, he'd pick up a prostitute in the United States, across the globe, whatever. He'd go back to their place, go to the hotel room. At some point, he would turn around, and they would have his dad's face. He would look at them, and it was his dad's just face, not body, but just a face on these prostitutes, and then he would kill them. So it's so weird. So not only was it a motivation that he hated prostitutes, but also prostitutes would morph into his dad. And my question, was it like a morph, like Was it like a literal blink and then all of a sudden his dad's face was there like, clean your room, kid? Or was it just like a slow shifting? Either one is quite disturbing. So anyways, you would hang out with him. He was married with kids. This guy wasn't just like he had a job and everything after he left the Navy. So he could function in normal society, but he would get a prostitute and he'd look at them. They would have his dad's face and then he'd kill him. My question is, his wife didn't have his dad's face. His kids didn't have his dad's face. His boss didn't have his dad's face. If you don't want to see your dad's face, don't go to prostitutes. If the only time you look and you see someone morph into your father a la the Matrix, don't see them. Go far away from them. The article then, okay, so that's enough about how just wacky this guy is. The rest of the article says, basically, yeah, so he says that he killed 5 women near Seattle, and then for 8 years as he was on the Nimitz, every time he landed in a port of call, he would murder someone. The article multiple times says that that's not true. He's totally making that up. He goes, some of the places they've done investigations, and it's absolutely not true. There's no evidence to back it up. Other places are outside of FBI's jurisdiction, but they haven't gotten any notification. So in this article it says, academics say it is not unusual for serial killers to exaggerate their body count to extend their feelings of superiority and domination. Then there's a quote, a lot of these guys are very eager to become the Heisman Trophy winner of serial killing. So not only does this article basically make this guy look out to be like a total loser, but then it's like, he's making it up. There's no way he killed this many people. The article is written to laugh at this guy. Because I laughed. I thought it was funny. Like, at the beginning, I mean, that may say more about me than the article writer. The article's like, yeah, he killed these 5 women, but he's making up the rest. And he has these bizarre visions. He wears a shirt with somebody else's name on it. And it keeps going, oh, the FBI investigated this. That's not true. They went to Hawaii where they said that he killed a woman. And they're like, that's impossible. The ship wasn't there long enough. And they did find a dead stripper in a bed. And they're like, yeah, but that wasn't him. So the article basically, so this guy goes into prison. And he's like, yeah, dude, I'm going to go in. I have this huge body count. Never have to see my dad's face again. And everyone basically just makes fun of him, pulls his pants down. Not like to rape him, but like, I was thinking more of like, to embarrass him. But I guess in prison it works both ways. My point being is that this guy, who deserves absolutely no sympathy whatsoever, his last big moment in the spotlight, he's called a loser once again. And now he's getting called a loser on my podcast. So, good job, John Armstrong. You're in prison for the rest of your life. I have nothing to worry about. That was a clip from our daily podcast, Dead Rabbit Radio. Dead Rabbit Radio is available anywhere that you listen to podcasts. It's daily paranormal, conspiracy, and true crime news. If you want to hear the full episode that this clip came from, check the link below. Please like and subscribe. And hit that little bell, too. That does some magical stuff. Thanks, guys.